Hi, my name is Elvas. I am the environmental artist, the builder in the team. This is a guide on how to use the new word edit in version 1.20 and onwards. I will be going over everything you need to know, but if you are looking for something specific, I've put timestamps for each tool or category. Before you skip, I recommend for old and new players alike to check out the basics section first. Enjoy! Okay, first let me clarify some things about word edit and talk a little bit about the absolute minimum on how to use it before diving deeper. To open the GUI, graphical user interface, by default you need to press Y while in creative mode. On the left side of your screen you can see the list of tools which are now disabled, shown by dedicated toggle at the top. At the very top left there is a small window for a few general settings. On the right side of your screen there is another control panel. Here you can quickly change how your avatar behaves or the weather and ambient effects around you. I will change my movement axis lock to Y, this makes me only move horizontally. I just prefer it this way. If you select a tool, this tab appears, showing you most actions you can execute with the activated tool. Worth keeping in mind, every action you do in word edit with the help of the GUI, you can also do with chat commands. These buttons just activate them in the background. Speaking of commands, they have been overhauled. I tried to make them more uniform and logical, easier to remember. You can check them out in the command handbook, where it also gives some information about how to use them. If you like the original commands better, or are you already used to them, you can reactivate them with the command on screen. Before I explain the tools one by one, let's go over the basics of how to use the word edit and the tabs. I will be using the select and move tool as an example, since they make use of most features. Quick reminder, holding the left Alt button will swap your mouse mode, meaning you can look around even if you have the GUI enabled. Although, you can just press Escape or Y again to make the GUI disappear with the tool you selected still active in the background. Many tools can make use of the word edit magic wand, but it is not necessary for most of them. I can quickly select this hut with it as an example. I will go over its uses with each tool. Radfast added holographic previews to word edit, meaning you can more easily view where and how you place your schematics, before committing to actually placing them. For example, after I selected this hut, I can switch to the move tool, which will make use of this preview. See that I only move the preview before the actual blocks are even gone. Some tools, like the move tool here, will now have the option to use the scroll wheel for rapid or fine-tuned adjustments. If I hold down the sprint key and use the mouse wheel, it adjusts the current preview, or the selection if it's active, by one block with each wheel tick, depending on which way I look. You can change the step amount at the top left. The number indicates how many blocks it shifts with each wheel tick. You can also use the scroll wheel to add to or take from the number here. To the right side on the same tab, you can also lock the axis at which the scroll wheel operates. Selecting Y will move the preview up and down without you having to look that way. It works the same way as X or Z, but you can also switch to general horizontal mode, which combines the X and Z coordinates. This means it ignores if you look up or down, but keeps track of the horizontal directions. Worth mentioning, this works the other way around for the movement axis lock on the right side panel. You can see the coordinate directions near the cardinal on the coordinate overlay. If you need to look at it while using word edit, you can disable the right side panel with this toggle. You may have to turn on the coordinate overlay in the settings if you can't see it. Press F to change modes for the scroll wheel function, the same button used for chisel or clay forming. Up at the top left are the undo and redo buttons. Keep in mind they have a limit to how many actions it can restore. These also have keyboard shortcuts, you can check them out in the settings. The constraint function here can restrict most tools to only operate within the selection area. Alright, let's start going over all the tools one by one. The first few I will explain in more detail, since most of the functionality repeats, so if something is not covered in later tools or in the basics section, maybe look around here again. The move tool allows you to, you guessed it, move blocks. It requires you to make a selection first. I will go over that when we get to the selection tool. This tool makes use of the scroll wheel function as already demonstrated. These direction buttons will move the preview for you by one block each time you press them. The step count applies to them as well. By pressing the look button, it just moves the preview in the direction you are looking at. I'm pretty sure the preview button does absolutely nothing since the preview appears automatically when the tool is active. I will update you guys on the pinned comment if I'm corrected. There are buttons to rotate the schematic, of course. This can also be done when pressing F to switch to the scroll wheel mode to rotate instead of moving the preview. The apply button will finalize the moving of the blocks. Let's whip out the magic wand. For this tool, it can be used for quickly moving around the selected schematic. Left-clicking will move the preview to wherever you click at. And here the preview origin point becomes important. It determines how your preview is placed when clicking somewhere. As an example, it is set to bottom center, which means when I click somewhere with the wand, the schematic's bottom center will be there. If I change it to start position, the schematic preview will be placed according to the start position. More on the start position when we get to the selection tool. And finally, when you are satisfied with the position of the preview, you can just right-click anywhere with the wand and the blocks move to where the preview was placed. Just like when pressing apply in the GUI. Use to repeat or mirror whatever is in your selection box. You can select which one you'd like by changing the mode here. The buttons up here will do one action in the given direction. The step count also applies here, but only for repeat mode. This tool can also make use of the magic wand by right-clicking. The tool will try to complete the action in the direction closest to where you click. With repeat mode, it will act as many times until it gets closest to where you clicked. Left click has no use with the wand. In the second drop-down menu, you can also switch modes for how the selection behaves after each action. Keep current selection will keep the selection wherever you set it first. Move selection will shift the selection along with the blocks you repeat or mirror. Grow selection is a mix of both. It will select the whole operation starting from the original point. Allows you to make and manipulate selections and some basic actions that wouldn't fit elsewhere. If you don't want to use chat commands to make a selection, then the magic wand is required for this tool. Switch between manual and magic mode to start making selections. In manual mode, you need to use the left and right click on blocks to complete a selection. It will create a start and end position respectively. In magic mode, all you need to do is right-click on the blocks and it will automatically try to find the boundaries of the schematic. This mode ignores soil blocks, so just like here, it doesn't attempt to include the entire word. If the selection you made is unsatisfactory, you can adjust each side with the buttons up here. The direction on the button determines which face of the selection to manipulate, and the plus or minus determines if it is enlarged or shrunken. Or try the scroll wheel function to move around the whole selection or individual faces. Press F to switch scroll wheel mode. I will switch to nearest option. Note that this will normalize the start and end position if necessary. More on this when I get to the normalize position button. The nearest option will adjust the face that is near me. However, this doesn't exactly check how close to you a certain face is, but rather which direction you are looking at. So as an example here, if I turn around, technically speaking the same face should move, since it is the closest to me. But in reality, because I am looking the other way, it moves the face on the other side. The name near and far is just for easier understanding. The step count on the upper left panel does apply to all the adjusting functionalities. The look buttons work just like in other tools. It adjusts the direction you are looking at. However, it is always adjusting the far side. The lower buttons are some extra functions you can use in relation with the selection. Copy takes the contents of the selection to your clipboard, so you can paste it somewhere with the help of the imports tool, more on that later. Clear button clears your selection. Delete button deletes anything in the selection. Don't worry, you can use the undo if you accidentally delete something. Fill uses the block currently highlighted in your hotbar to completely fill up the whole selection area with that block. Relight recalculates all the lighting in the area. This is useful when editing large areas and some shadows or other lighting artifacts appear that shouldn't be there. Normalize position is when the start and end position, the green and red indicators, snap to the lowest and highest point in all coordinate directions. This will automatically occur when you switch scroll wheel modes. This is important for the code to know which face and which direction it needs to adjust when using the scroll wheel. If you happen to have the start and end position flipped, or shift the one face until it flips the selection around, the directions also reverse. Normalizing the position comes in handy when this happens, otherwise don't worry about it too much. This is for nerds like me to understand. Paintbrush can place or replace blocks in different sizes and shapes, and best of all, do that quickly. This tool requires you to have a block selected in your hotbar and right-clicking with it to apply the blocks en masse. Change mode with this drop-down. Fill just fills up the preview with the selected block in your hotbar. Replace non-air mode replaces everything that is not air in the preview. Replace air does the same the other way around. While replace selected block only replaces the blocks you click on. You can set the shape of the preview as well, the options are self-explanatory. Change preview sizes here, note that they mirror the size in each axis, meaning you cannot change one side alone. It will also simultaneously adjust the opposing side. TOM, or Tool Offset Mode, changes where your preview attaches to where you point. Either centers itself around it, or attaches to the face you are looking at. Depth limit changes how deep the blocks are being applied into the ground. When selecting any limit, it will not replace air, only blocks. Very useful when building terrain and you want to add soil blocks to the top. The cutout settings here can make a secondary inverse shape inside your preview, making it hollow. Right now, this only works in a useful manner with the ball and half ball shapes. Change the fill percentage here. If set to 50%, it will only fill with half the amount of the blocks in the preview, thus leaving some air pockets in it. This will work with all modes and preview shapes. It can be used to sprinkle around blocks or more often than not, plants. This tool also requires you to have a block selected in your hotbar and right-clicking with it to apply the blocks. Switch between two modes, either a mode where the tool can place anywhere on the given radius, or apply them to the type of blocks you click on. The quantity can be set in percentages. This works similarly as the paintbrush tool, it randomly fills up the radius according to the percentage. Place mode can be switched between placing or replacing blocks. Directional apply can be changed to only operate on the same faces you initially clicked on. The line tool can create lines of blocks or remove blocks in a line. To do so, you again need a block selected in the hotbar. Set the starting point by left-clicking on a block and right-click to set the endpoint, and it will try to create a straight line of blocks between the 2 points. The starting point mode can be changed here. Line strip mode will always move the starting point to the end point you set, allowing you to follow up with multiple connected lines. As define mode will keep the originally set points so you can draw multiple lines from the same block. Place mode also changes if you place or remove blocks in a line. Eraser tool works exactly like the paintbrush tool, except it removes the blocks in the preview instead of placing them. You still need a block in hand, although the type of block has no relevance this time. Please refer to the paintbrush tool for info on how to use it. While right now, as of recording this video, it lacks some of the features that Paintbrush has, this might change in future updates. This tool can be used to fill up oddly shaped holes in the ground or just quickly filling up any space with blocks. Also requires you to have a block selected, which will be used to fill up a space you right-click in. Left-clicking will remove blocks instead of adding, but all the other rules still apply. Max distance setting sets how far the tool reaches when filling an area. Check Enclosed will check if the area you click in is enclosed or not. If you disable this and just right-click on the ground, it will fill that area up all the way to the max distance setting. When this is on, however, it won't let you fill until it is an enclosed area. If an area is larger than the max distance settings, you may want to increase it for it to check further from an enclosed area to fill. Modes can be changed here. Flat 2D will only fill up one block layer. Cubic 3D will attempt to fill in every direction. And Cubic 3D not up will fill sideways and downwards. These three toggles can be turned off if you don't want to overwrite water, plants, and loose surface items. This is a very simple tool to raise and lower the terrain. Left-clicking will lower the terrain, and right-clicking with a selected block in your hotbar will raise it using the given block. You can change modes for how it is raised. Uniform will just raise blocks by the same amount of blocks everywhere in the given radius. Pyramid will raise the terrain in a pyramid form, maximum on the middle and minimum around the edges of the radius. Gaussian will use a Gaussian curve to raise or lower the ground. Purlin mode will use the Purlin noise map baked into every seed to raise the terrain in a unique form. Depth setting can set either the maximum raising or the minimum lowering the tool can operate with. The radius is self-explanatory, it sets the maximum radius for the tool. This tool can be used for growing and shrinking block patches, very similar to the raise and lower tool, but in all dimensions. Left-clicking shrinks any shape in the given radius, and right-clicking requires a block selected in your hotbar to be used when growing a shape. As in most cases, the radius can be adjusted here, and the mode can be switched to only grow the type of blocks you click on or any. This tool requires the use of the magic wand, with which it can apply an erosion effect in the given area. Only right-clicking with the magic wand will work, so you can still break and place blocks while the tool is active. Radius sets the maximum area erosion happens in, and kernel radius sort of determines how strong the effect is. You can also increase the amount of iterations per application if you want even stronger and quicker smoothing. A noteworthy side effect of this tool, it has a bias towards the negative coordinates, so it can add blocks on one side of a hill, for example, and remove on the other side. This might be improved in later versions though. This is used to import schematics either from the client's WordEdit folder or from the clipboard. You can also drag and drop schematic files while the tool is active and have them imported in the Word. The tool generally works very similar to the Move tool, which means you can also use the scroll wheel and magic wand with it. I'll go over the differences for this tool. If you have something copied to the clipboard from the displaying session, it will automatically load in when you activate this tool, but you can also press the From Clipboard button. Or use the drop-down to import from the WordEdit folder here. Quick tip: to export the schematic to the WordEdit folder beforehand, use the command on screen. Once you have a schematic imported, it will spawn a preview either at where you copied it from or where you are if you imported from external sources. If you don't want the preview to spawn at the location you copied it from, you can switch this toggle to make it appear where you are at. Move the preview around with the scroll wheel functions or via the buttons, just like in the Move tool. The step count is applied to these movements. Alternatively, you can use the magic wand. Left-clicking with the wand only moves the preview around, while right-clicking instantly places the imported schematic. If you want it to work like in the Move tool, turn off the PAC toggle. This way, when right-clicking, the schematic will be placed where the preview is, like if you press the Place button. Furthermore, for the wand, change the paste origin point on the left here. This works similar to the Move tool origin point. Replace mode determines what gets overwritten when placing a schematic. Replace by value means solid blocks gain advantage over things like grass, air, and loose stones from both instances. This means if you have grass in your schematic, it will get overwritten by solid blocks in the word. And if the schematic has blocks where there was grass in the word around, it also gets overwritten by the schematic's solid blocks this time. Replace all just replaces everything by the schematic, even air will replace blocks. Replace all, no air, will replace everything, but will not replace anything with air coming from the schematic. Replace only air will only place blocks in empty spaces. The Tree tool will allow you to generate trees using the built-in tree generator. Use the drop-down to pick out the tree type you want to grow. Only works with the wand in hand. All you need to do is right-click on a block and it will grow the tree from that spot. The game will randomly generate a tree according to the minimum and maximum size. A value between them is randomly picked when growing a tree. Here you can set decimals for the size limits. You can use sprint plus scroll wheel to adjust the numbers by much smaller amounts. This is only useful in this one instance. It is not bound to seed, so whenever you place one, then remove it by undo, and place the same tree on the same spot, it will generate a new one. If you want to grow a fruit tree, it will only place the stem first and then speed up its growth until it reaches the given size. This is done because they work completely different from normal trees, and this was the easiest workaround for Tyrant to make them work. The Chisel tool works exactly like the Paintbrush tool, but in the 16th size of a block. Keep in mind which block is in chiseled state and which isn't when replacing materials, as that mode will not recognize normal blocks. And that's it, we are done. Now for a few tips and tricks that might help you speed up building. There are many quick to use commands. I highly recommend going over the command handbook WordEdit folder to see what can be useful for you, but here are some examples. /WE1 and 2, or S and E as in start and end, can set the selection quickly at your feet, even if you are using some other tool. /WECS as in clear selection, well, it will clear your selection. If it gets in the way and you won't use it again, this is a quick command to make it disappear. /WEB as in block will place a block currently active in your hotbar under your feet. This can be very useful when starting a building high up in the sky. Alright, I hope this video helped you, and thank you for watching, I guess. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Bye bye! This tool requires the use of the magic wand, with which it can apply an erosion effect. With which it can apply an erosion effect in the given area. With which it can apply an left clicking will move the left clicking shrinks any shapes in the left clicking shrinks any shapes. Left clicking with the wand only moves left clicking with the wand only left clicking okay. This is fucking difficult. You can change the just like in other Stay hydrated, kids.